Good afternoon. My name is Norm Horofker, and I'm the proud minister of the Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax, established here in 1837. Alison Chipman joined our congregation in July of 2006, and she was one of the most loyal and active members we have in the congregation. I'm just asking everyone to turn off their pagers and other noisemakers if they haven't already done so. In-person attendance at this service had to be limited due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we've worked hard with special help from volunteers to present this service in person and at the same time to stream it over YouTube and on the Zoom platform. This obviously is a work in progress. Those here in person are asked to wear a mask in our ongoing efforts to keep the pandemic at bay. And if you're wondering why Deborah and I are not wearing masks while we're presenting, we'll be maintaining a 4-meter distance from the congregation as recommended by our Department of Health. Thank you for attending, whether in person or virtually. For technical reasons, people joining by Zoom will be muted for most of the service, with an opportunity to speak at one point that I will announce when we get there. The chat function is open, and you're encouraged to use it to say hello to one another and to leave any messages that you may like. Both chat and video are being recorded. Now I'd like to, if the technology will work, show those at home what it looks like here in the sanctuary. You can wave, if you're in the sanctuary, you can wave at the camera if you like. That should do it. So you can now wave at the camera there. Thank you. A real live audience here for the first time in quite a while. And John, can you give us a view of those gathered in the ballroom again? If you're in the ballroom, feel free to smile and to wave. Okay. Welcome to all of you who have come to this service. Your presence here is a testament to the life of Alison and an affirmation of the love that binds us all. We're gathered here at this hour, friends and family and colleagues of Alison, to honor and to celebrate her life. More than that, we're here to celebrate the mystery that is our life, this great mystery of which we are all a part. To everyone assembled here, I hope that this service will remind you of the beauty of a life and a friendship and help you in the days ahead. In the mystery of this hour together, may we be humble and know that our powers are limited and that we are subject to universal law, that we are finite creatures in an infinite universe. The Unitarian Universalist services usually begin with the lighting of a chalice. And I invite Steve Chipman this afternoon, Alison's brother, to come forward now to light the chalice. And maybe Deborah can play just a little bit of background music for us. Thank you. With the chalice lit, I invite you now to read aloud the chalice lighting words that are printed in the order of service. At times, our light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. And now Deborah will lead us in the opening hymn. The words will appear on the monitor. Normally we would stand if we were comfortable doing so for hymns, but in this hybrid service, it seems better just to remain seated.
Spirit of life, come on, do
words by Eustace Hayden, the Canadian-born pioneer in the humanist movement. He wrote, "At times like this, we're often blinded by loss, so that death wears too much mystery. Yet death is no more than a return to our home in nature. You see, it's life that's the real mystery, hidden from us because of the veil of familiarity that covers our eyes. To think that a fragment of the materials of the earth should grow into forms of beauty, feel love and joy and sorrow, become a temple of ideas and dreams, mold meanings and patterns of beauty into the lives of others, and gather the threads of friendship, devotion, admiration, and loyalty from the hundreds of hearts to weave for itself a garment of happiness. This is the marvelous mystery, the supreme poetic achievement of time and nature. Death restores the borrowed materials to the earth, but the time-sculpted personality and character he has no power to touch." And now Deborah and Kathy Spencer, have a special offering for the service.
I would offer this gift of song to you, to remind you of what we share, to go with you no matter where you are. You can carry it anywhere, to remember you have a home in me, just as I have a home in you. I will always be waiting here for you. You can find me within the song. You can find me within the notes you sing, or the silence before the sound. I will hear you no matter where you are. I will hear you and sing along. To remember you have a home in me, just as I have a home in you. You will always be waiting here for me. I can find you within the song. To remember you have a home in me, just as I have a home in you. I will always be waiting here for you. You can find me within the song.
Thank you. Alison Chipman was born June the 5th, 1956, in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. She was the daughter of the late Donald Lewis Chipman and Margaret Allison Ripley Chipman, both of Yarmouth. Alison was the youngest of 4 children, including brothers Robert and Stephen and sister Donna. Sadly, Donna predeceased her. Alison had many nieces and nephews, some of whom are with us here today, and she'll be sadly missed by them. Alison studied library science here in Halifax, and her career took her to the far north of Canada and to California in the United States. Alison's life is a tribute to her strong will. She fought and beat a number of severe health problems, and she kept on with her life in a manner that delighted family and friends. Sadly, eventually she would lose one of those battles with disease, as we all will someday. She spent her final days in the beautiful new Halifax hospice with family and friends able to visit. Alison died on June 25th of this year, and as she requested, she had a green burial on June 29th with family and friends in attendance. I personally will miss her love of language, her ability to laugh in awkward circumstances, her amazing independence, her acceptance of what life had dealt her, and her wonderful self-confidence and determination, and her generosity with her time, volunteering in so many ways here at the church. You too, even more so, will miss Alison in so many ways. Our minds are filled with memories. You may hold them close, or if anyone else would like to speak, there will be an opportunity to do so after we view some photos from a life well lived. I urge you to listen to the words of the accompanying music.
May I suggest to you, may I suggest this is the best part of your life. May I suggest this time is blessed for you. This time is blessed and shining, almost blinding bright. Just turn your head and you'll begin to see the thousand reasons that were just beyond your sight. The reasons why I suggest to you, why I suggest this is the best part of your life. There is a world that's been addressed to you, intended only for your eyes. A secret world, a treasure chest to you, of private scenes and brilliant dreams that mesmerize. A tender lover's smile, a tiny baby's hands, the million stars that fill the turning sky at night. Oh, I suggest, yes, I suggest to you, yes, I suggest this is the best part of your life. There is a hope that's been expressed in you, the hope of 7 generations, maybe more. This is the faith that they invest in you. It's that you'll do one better than was done before. Inside you know, inside you understand. Inside you know what's yours to finally set right. And I suggest to you, and I suggest this is the best part of your life. This is a song, comes from the west to you. Comes from the west, comes from the slowly setting sun. This is a song with a request of you to see how very short the endless days will run. And when they're gone, and when the dark descends, we'd give anything for one more hour of life. May I suggest this is the best part of your life.
May I suggest this is the best part of your life. I hope you felt, as I did, that every one of those days, preserved in those pictures, was the best day of Alison's life. All we have is today. It's the best day of our lives. Now, if anyone would like to speak of their memories of Alison, you're invited to come forward now. People in the ballroom may come to the microphone here in the sanctuary, but we'll give the family first opportunity if anyone would like to speak here in the sanctuary.
Hi, I'm Steve, Alison's brother. I brought with me something that probably is going to be familiar to most of you. It really does represent Alison. Alison's white cane was a common sight for all of us. When we think of her, many of us will see her walking along the sidewalk, tap, tap, tapping her way. Her white cane stands as a symbol of the strong, independent woman she was. She found her own way, not just using her white cane, walking from one place to another, but in all of her life. When, as a teenager, she developed diabetes, she found her own way to take the daily medication she needed to cope with that disease. And she did it every day. When, after she had to enter study of law, she did study law. and was actually planning to take over her family's law business. But when she had to end her study of law due to illness, she found her own way to Dallas Library School to obtain a master's degree, which launched her career. When a suitable job didn't prove to be available in Nova Scotia, she found her own way to Williamstown, Massachusetts, to work with the J. Paul Getty Trust on an art and architecture history thesaurus. It's not easy to say, but she worked on that for years and she loved that work. And when the Getty closed her office in Williamstown, Alison again found her own way to their new center right across the United States to Santa Monica, California, to continue the work she loved. When the diabetes caused her loss of sight and disabled her from working, Alison once again found her own way back to Nova Scotia to be closer to her family, friends, and her roots. Alison always found her own way to the UU Church community here, to Symphony Nova Scotia, to Gay Pride, to you, her friends, to her cats, Hannah, Donald, and Fanny. She found her own way to her apartments on Tulip, Parker, and Rose Streets, and finally, admittedly with some help, to Northwood. She found her own way to her close friend, Sass Menard, to their enjoyment of coffee, skip-bo games, and their many meals together. And it's only fitting that it was Sass who was with Alison in her final moments at the Halifax hospice. Alison always found her own truly unique way in life, and we loved her for it. And now, with this special celebration of her life, she finds her own way one last time. And we say goodbye. Thank you.
For a while, I could not remember some word I was in need of, and I was bereaved and said, "Where are you, beloved friend? when I came across those words by Mary Oliver, of course, I immediately thought of Alison. And we spent lots of time together. And I read to Alison many, many evenings. And I read everything from children's stories to short stories to novels to the autobiography of a yogi. Mind you, that last one kind of put Alison to sleep sometimes. And when I read, sometimes I'd say, Alison, what does that word mean? Or how do you pronounce that word? And she always knew. Alison always knew. And one day, recently, about a week and a half or so ago, I was sitting in my living room, and a yellow butterfly came to my window. And I said, "Hi, Alison." And Alison used to come to my window quite often and tap with that cane on my window. And I'd say, "Hi, Alison." So I miss her very, very much. But you know what? She's never far away. She's right here in my heart. Thank you.
I just have to say, Alison was one of the most generous people I have ever met. She had the biggest heart. In many ways, and I feel so privileged to have been her friend. But the remarkable thing was her generosity, even though she really lived from the approach of abundance. She always was willing to share. She, even though I know perhaps she wasn't the wealthiest person in the world, but a perfect example of this is her generosity in buying food for the food box here at the church. And the church here has a food box out front, and Alison would buy, honestly, 4 chock-a-block full, maybe more, Sobeys bags of groceries, boxes and boxes of cereal, boxes and boxes of just what she thought people might enjoy. And another example of that, well, many examples, I could give so many examples. When we would have a little potluck at home, and Alison wanted to bring potato salad, she would not bring a bowl of potato salad for 6 people, which might be attending. She would bring a bowl of potato salad, which was overflowing, and we all enjoyed it, and so we had some to take home. And another striking example I have to speak about is, for many years, I had the opportunity and the honor to work with this church in providing food at Hope Cottage, which is, a drop-in center in town. And our responsibility was to bring food for a lot of people to eat. And Alison would make these humongous casseroles, and it was just, she always contributed above and beyond what many other people could do. And we can't go without mentioning her bread. Her bread was fabulous, and Mary happened to just tell me before this service that this is a family recipe, but she brought so many loaves of bread to this church and fed so many people. It was just such a joy. I really don't think I know anybody who was so generous as Alison. Sure. Thank you.
So now we're going to try something. We're going to push the technological envelope. In a minute, I'll invite those joining by Zoom to share a memory, knowing that there are more memories of Alison filling our minds than there are hours in the day.
I wish I could do this justice, but several years ago, we had a guest preacher, and I do mean preacher, at the church. I think he was Lutheran, and it was dreadful. It was just so dreadful because he came into our church and told people that the only way they would get through their depression or whatever other problem they had was to find the Lord, of course. And at the end of the presentation, Alison tore him to shreds, but completely, tactfully, and the most articulate speech I've ever heard. I wish so much that I had a recording of that. It was wonderful. Thank you, Alison.
Alison was fantastic. She looked after the library and she could hardly see the books, and yet she looked after it. I don't know how she did that. And she did everything. And then I wanted to organize a Thanksgiving dinner. I needed somebody to cook a turkey. I was going to buy one. And of course, Alison was the one who said, "Oh, I will do that, no problem." So that was, she was just absolutely fantastic. That's funny that I picked that one out, because at that Thanksgiving dinner, Dean came and he said, "Well, I went to the kitchen, there are two blind women cooking there, and never thought of either Alison." Well, Hal McFadden maybe a bit, but Alison, I never thought of her as being blind or anything like that, because she had no problem living, and she carried on, I think, in a fantastic way.
These words selected, and the words I've selected here were penned by Paul Robeson. Sorrow will someday turn to joy. All that breaks the heart and oppresses the soul will one day give place to peace and understanding, and everyone will be free. And now Deborah will lead us in the closing hymn.
Amazing grace.
saved this reading for last. When I was preparing for the service over a week ago, I went through my email file for Alison, and I felt the hair on my arm stand up when I came across this reading. It's from a skit that Alison performed at one of the church coffee houses a few years ago. And she was dressed for the part and animated and acted it out the way Alison alone could do. I can't give it justice, but I'll do my best. Here are Alison's own irreverent words, and Alison ought to have the last word. Welcome. I'm so happy you all turned out for my memorial service. That's the way I felt. What? I never dreamed so many of you would show up. Yes, I'm dead. But as a free-willed individual, I've chosen to speak at my own memorial service. So what's it like over here in the after-death? Well, there's plenty of coffee, lots of lectures, and a huge, well-organized library, almost as good as the one out there in the ballroom. And no hell. Of course, that's exactly what you have always thought. Of course, what you really want to know is there a God or gods? And if so, what is she or he or it or them really like? Huh. I'm not going to tell you. Sorry, I had to promise. Giving you guys the heads up would ruin a thriving religious speculation industry. Besides, it wouldn't be fair. I can't just tell you. You've got to do your own thinking and reading. You've got that splendid library out there in the ballroom. Use it. Build your own theology. But back to the after death. There are debates to die for. What a slate of debaters. St. Augustine versus Hildegard of Bingen on whether women have souls. Fanny Farmer versus Julia Child on how to brew the perfect cup of coffee. Even Big Mama herself. Oops. Hey, look, it's okay if they know. They're UUs, and they don't proselytize. Even if they know the absolute truth, they won't talk about it. Well, not everyone is happy. Existentialists, nihilists are so disappointed. So disappointed that there is an after death, that there is something instead of nothing. They just sit around silent and embarrassed at their little round coffee tables, drinking absinthe all the time. But absinthe doesn't make their hearts grow fonder. But most of the dead are content. Besides the library, the lectures, the coffee, we get to do things that we wish we could have done in life. But I'm afraid I've got to leave now. Got to transcend this old body. But I want to tell you all how touched and grateful I am that you came. Did everyone get their cheap red wine? I hope my estate left enough funds to provide each of you with your own bottle. Remember to recycle. Concern for the environment does not end with life. I leave that little bit of Alison with you while I extinguish the chalice. And now, love has done all that love can do. Go now and be with each other. Remember the good times, the days of family feasts, of Christmases, of birthdays, of surprises, the loaves of bread. Remember the soft moments, brief but eternal, in which no words at all spoke all that could have been said. Tell the stories again. Laugh together as you remember. Laughter needs no more be denied than tears. For laughing and crying are each in their own way, honoring, celebrating, and deeply loving. Now we're going to take a brief break to set up some pictures from Alison's life. John hopefully will be able to play a PowerPoint with a number of slides, more than you saw in the service. Once those pictures have run their course, we'll open up the Zoom platform to allow people to chat, if they choose to do so, during the reception.
Safe home, sweet light, no longer of this world. On wings, safe and sound, are you carried? No longer casting shadows, no longer counting days. You are love, and you are loved always. Safe home, sweetheart, no longer beating here. Your life is but a whisper to my sorrow, but time does not confine you now. My spirit's I must raise. You are love, and you are loved always. You are love, you are love, you are loved always. Safe home, sweet light, no longer of this world. On wings, safe and sound, are you carried? No longer casting shadows, no longer counting days. You are love, and you are loved always. Safe home, sweetheart, no longer beating here. Your life is but a whisper to my sorrow, but time does not confine you now. My spirit's I must raise. You are love, and you are loved always. You are love, you are love, you are loved always. Safe home, sweet light, no longer shining here. Though your joy is now a beacon for the weary, never more to shed a tear, never more to feel alone. You are loved, and you are loved. You're